I want people to realize that like I'm just a regular person, but that you don't have to have this designer house, this $1 million mansion. Like you can make your house more beautiful and more functional for your family.
Welcome back to the Cypress Room, where we dive deep on influencing with integrity. I am Christina Mascari.
And I'm Maggie Honeycutt.
And we have another one of our creator friends here today for a remote interview. And we are so excited to welcome to the Cypress Room, DeLancey Carson from DeLancey DIY.
Oh, thank y'all so much for having me on today. This is so much fun.
Yes, we are so excited to have you, DeLancey. And I just want to go ahead and read a little bit about DeLancey for those of you who may not already follow her. DeLancey Carson is a Georgia-based DIYer who's currently on a journey to renovate her average 1988 home one project at a time. She enjoys teaching her audience the how-tos of power tools, woodworking, and decor. Through easy-to-follow and step-by-step videos, DeLancey engages with her audience with real and relatable DIY on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, where she has almost 2 million followers across 3 platforms. Wow. Welcome to the podcast, DeLancey.
Thank you.
We're just going to jump right into like, how in the world did you get here? Because you have just busted on the scene, and the way your short form content has resonated on those 3 big platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Where did you come from? How did you start?
Well, I think that's the thing, is that like, I've been doing this like almost 5 years.
So that's awesome.
Yeah. So I started in 2019 and just sharing like little DIYs I've done. So this was 2019. I had just had my 3rd baby. Okay. We had $0, right? We had $0 to our name. We were living in this, at that time, 1970s house. And I wanted it to be cute, right? Because I'd been watching HGTV and I'd been watching all this stuff. And we had $0 to make it happen. So I was like, I'm sure I could learn how to do it. How hard could it be? Like, it can't be that hard. And so the nice thing about a 1970s house is that like anything you do is an improvement, right? Like if it was a new build house, maybe I would have been more hesitant, but like this house was kind of like falling apart. So I'm like, I mean, it's got to be better than what's currently there. So I started doing some DIYs around the house. And the problem was I was sharing it on my like personal Instagram. Nobody cared. Like nobody cared. Like my husband didn't want to talk about DIYs all day. And I'm like, I need to talk to people about this because this is so fun. It is so fun to be able to like use my hands and build stuff and like do stuff and paint this room and decorate this. And nobody cared in my real life. So then I went online and I realized there was a community at that time on Instagram mostly. And that like you could share it and people liked it. And so I started sharing. At that time, it was really just pictures of like little befores and afters or what I was working on. And it barely grew. I would do all this work and like 20 people would see it, like for years and years. And so it didn't really blow up until almost 2 years ago is when it finally like blew up. But it was because I'd been putting in the work for 2 years already. Does that make sense? Like I've been doing it 2 years and kind of honing my skills, what DIY and video editing and storytelling, all that kind of stuff. And then it like finally, I guess all the pieces fell into place to like make it actually expand, you know?
Right. So tell us like what made you not give up? What made you keep sharing if you felt like in the world's eyes that it wasn't, successful or this juggernaut or it wasn't taking off? Maybe you weren't seeing like the return on all the effort you were putting in. What made you not give up on it?
That is such a good question. I hadn't thought about that. I don't know. I think I saw other people being successful and I thought, if they can do it, there's no reason why I can't also be successful. There's no reason why I can't eventually make this into a full-time income. I also was a stay-at-home mom because I'd had my 3rd baby. I had quit my job because at the end of 2019 is when I quit because I had 3 kids in daycare. I was working at a church and I had 3 kids in the church daycare. So I was taking home $4 an hour.
Oh, we've had a whole episode on that situation. Yeah.
Right. So it was it was ridiculous. So I was like, okay, this is not worth the effort. Like, what are we even doing here? Like the mental, like, okay. So I was like, I'll just be a stay-at-home mom. So I didn't have to juggle having a full-time job. I know a lot of people are currently trying to make social media work while also having a full-time job. And I can't even speak to that because, but I was raising 3 children at that time. I don't know, 5 and under, right? Like, so I had that full-time job. But I think it was my creative outlet. It was just, I wanted to share it, and I wanted to show people you don't need a ton of money to, have fun, to make your house your own. And the people that did see it really liked it. And I kept thinking, like, just keep going. If you just keep going. And I think I have so many friends that I met at that first in 2019, and we all started together. And some of them took off, and then some of them kind of like stopped. But I feel like the only difference is you just didn't stop.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
which is hard because you're right. It does take time. And I think I give myself a lot more grace when approaching this as a job, where I don't care about that a video goes out on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I put out a video when I have a video to put out. And I think that is the only reason I was able to keep doing it, because I didn't put that pressure on me to like make this be a real job and treat this like a career and blah, blah. Like, I was a mom at home. Like, I just could do a video when I could do a video. So I think giving myself that grace allowed me to keep going to when it did eventually pay off.
Thanks for joining us in the Cypress Room today. Your support means so much to us, and we wanted to share a new way that you can invest in our community.
We now have our own store where you can get your Cypress Room merch like hoodies, shirts, hats, and more.
And not only can you rep the Cypress Room brand and its mission of influencing with integrity, but your purchase will directly help fund this channel.
That way we can keep bringing you interviews with your favorite creators and all the knowledge you need to help grow your brand and your business.
Our shop is linked in the description box of every video we make, and you can also view pictures of each product tagged in each video, and we really appreciate your support. Do you still carry that mentality into the projects you're doing now, or has it become more of like this job and I got to put videos out here, 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 and here?
I definitely am not structured enough to do that. I should probably. Right now, it's like, okay, I've got this big project with this company, and I've got this one that goes live 2 weeks later. I've got to do something in the middle, so it's not just all sponsored projects. So like, that's kind of my impetus now. I don't have a ton of like self regulation. Like when it's exterior factors telling me when deadlines are, I like that a lot better because then I do it. So I still just put out videos when I can, if it's like my own videos, not like a sponsored video.
Yeah. And I hear you almost saying that in a negative way, but I honestly think it's really good. And I think it's what's different about your content, because I believe every single one of your projects that you do. I believe that you would be doing these projects even if you weren't recording them, and even if this wasn't your job.
Oh, 100%.
Because obviously it's like you're trying to make your home beautiful, but like,
Right.
you know, the kitchens that you've done for your family.
Yeah.
It's like, I believe like you're not just doing this for this would be a great idea for content. Like
Right.
there is like this intrinsic like value that comes across in your content to me that you would be doing this anyways, and you're just letting us into the process.
Yeah.
So I just like I want to get to the bottom of what's the secret sauce here. And me and Maggie were talking, you know, pre-show about like, what is it about DeLancey? I don't know, but I just really like her, and I feel like
y'all are so
she
sweet.
Would be my friend.
Oh,
like I feel
good.
like
Okay.
she would be somebody that I would meet, and we would just hang out, and she would be telling me about her projects. And I think that's why I'm so drawn in, because you are relatable. And it's, even though like you're a boss and you're doing archways, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I could do any of that, you still make it feel like attainable. So
Yeah.
do you?
I wondered the same thing and wanted to ask you if, I mean, I know in your bio, you said you want to do relatable DIYs.
Mm-hmm.
When you're creating content, is that something you're thinking about as you're doing it, or is it just naturally kind of how you approach all things?
I think people can look at me and look at my house and realize that I'm not like an influencer, right? Like, I don't look like, you know, the typical, you know, Utah influencer, or I don't have the cadence of, you know, like, I think they can see my house, my normal average house on a normal quarter-acre of a lot. Like, and I think that pulls down the like show of it, you know, like we're so used to this influence. And I think we're, as a society, moving away from the super polished and the super put together. I think we realize that like that's not real life. Like when someone wears that much makeup in real life, like it looks weird. It looks good on camera. It looks so good on camera. But like if you're just like at your kid's karate out like game, or like, what do you call karate meeting? I don't know.
Matches? I don't know.
We're not even to matches yet. We're just in like the whatever it is. We're not even there yet. We're very basic. Anyways, but like I think we're getting away from this super stylized. And I think on Instagram, I wonder if it's the same on YouTube, is that like a lot of Instagram people are doing like before and afters with like cool transitions and like you put this down and bam, the whole, and like sometimes I do those. But I obviously think people just don't care. Like they just don't care, and they just want to see, how do you make this? You know, like, and obviously YouTube is a little bit longer where you can like draw out the whole process. Whereas Instagram, you're like, bam, bam, bam. And I think by just, because almost all of my videos are voiceovers. Almost all of my videos are my voice, just talking like this. And everyone always says I talk way too fast. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. That's just how I talk. Because I'll try to slow it down and I'll just be like, that's interesting. I was listening to some of y'all's podcast, but I was doing it at 2x speed. And every audiobook I listen to at 2x speed, because that's just how my brain works. And so like, I have to talk fast, and this is just how I talk. Sometimes I'll try to slow it down, but it just sounds like I'm walking in molasses. But I think that like, I want people to realize that like, I'm just a regular person, but that you don't have to have this designer house, this $1 million mansion. Like you can make your house more beautiful and more functional for your family. And I think those are my favorite DIYs, where it's like my pantry that I made over. Like it's
my favorite.
It's super cute, but it's so freaking functional. Every single morning, my kids go into that pantry and they pack their snack for their day, and they can like heat up their own little breakfast sandwiches, and like every single day we use that pantry. And it's so functional. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is my things. Or like my mom, who's, you know, kitchen we remade over. Every time she calls me for the past 2 months, she's like, I love my kitchen. I just love my kitchen so much. And I'm like, yes, I'm so glad that like that could work, and we could film it, and we could do it for Home Depot. And like, it all just worked. And like, I want to keep doing that, because like, but people like that too, because again, it was a normal house. Her house was built in 1930 something, right? Like, I don't think I'll ever get to a point, regardless of how much money we make, where I go buy a $2 million house and then start flipping it, because I just don't think that's what my people want to see. I think they want to see regular houses done by a regular person with regular budgets.
I love that you break down the price, and it's attainable for a regular person to be able to look at your projects and say, oh my gosh, maybe I could afford to make over my powder room. Maybe I could afford to make over my kitchen, and it looks beautiful and a high end, but it was under $5,000. Like that's what I loved about your mom's kitchen.
Yep.
It's gorgeous. And you still used, it was laminate countertops, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't need marble countertops in my kitchen, and it can still look beautiful and gorgeous, and it's budget friendly too. So I think that also contributes to your popularity, is your projects feel accessible, like not out of reach for somebody.
Well, and I think the thing about, especially for Mom's Kitchen, I was like, because she has laminate countertops for like since the 80s, and she had talked about getting marble, because obviously like she's classy, she likes marble, everybody likes marble, but she didn't want to put it on her terrible old MDF cabinets from the 80s that were like rotten. So now, if in like 2 years she wants to get marble countertops, sure, go ahead. Like you can put them on those cabinets. And I think that's the thing that some people get caught up on, is that they think you're going to do a project, like you're going to do a room one time and then be done. Whereas the like step by step, like making over my kitchen that I did 3 years ago, it's been fine. Like we didn't have to gut it. We just kind of updated it. We've got new countertops, painted the cabinets, like added some more cabinets up above, did some floating shelves, did a new backsplash. And it's been great for 3 years. Will we ever gut it and make a new kitchen? Yes, maybe. But when I spent on the kitchen $3,500. That $3,500 was so worth it for these 3 years of like enjoyment and functionality for my family. And so I think people sometimes get caught up in the like, I'm going to do it once and I'm never going to do it again. And you're like, or you could make little changes and then like you could come back later and visit the same project.
Yeah, because you're making like the HGTV like before and after reveal with the all new appliances and like complete, you know,
Right.
$80,000 kitchen. You're making it attainable to someone to, hey, you can do it steps at a time. And like your mom's kitchen, I love that you're like, there's nothing wrong with her appliances.
They worked
Like,
fine.
so we're not going to get rid of them.
Yeah. People
And
are
it's
like,
you work around them. And it's like, it doesn't have to be this like complete gut for you to like enjoy it or be proud of it. And you can do it in steps, which is way more attainable for people as like your budget allows for you to make updates. So I just love it.
Like, why? Just like the appliances worked. Why would we? I don't know. Yeah.
I love that approach.
Well, we can tell why people love your content. So we could talk about your content all day, but I want to get into a little bit more of the business aspect and talk about, it sounds like you started out on Instagram and you were doing photos and stuff like that. Can you tell us about the evolution of starting to create and incorporate those short form content videos? And when TikTok came into play? Did TikTok come first and then you were like, oh shoot, I can put this TikTok stuff on Instagram? Like, I would love to know that.
I think, okay, so whenever Instagram rolled out Reels, I was like, okay, I've got to learn how to make videos. I had no idea about how to make videos, right? Like, what? Are you kidding me? So I was like, all right, I'm gonna learn how to make videos, learn how to edit videos. And so, but then I think shortly after they had Reels, I realized that TikTok, maybe I didn't do TikTok till the pandemic. Maybe the pandemic hit and I was like, because I was kind of like anti-TikTok at first, right? Because I'm like, oh, TikTok, dancing people. Like, why are these teenagers dancing? And so, but then once I realized, oh, wait a second, it's the same thing. Like, you could just share the same thing. Then I just started putting all of my videos. And so now to this day, I don't make different videos for different platforms. I try to do it I try to make my videos 61 seconds so they can go on TikTok to get the 60-second bonus, which you only qualify for the extra money if you hit 60 seconds. But then I can edit it shorter to put it on YouTube Shorts which is under 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And then whichever I could Instagram and Facebook don't care. Oh, I didn't include Facebook on there. I've got 500,000 Facebook followers too.
Oh yeah.
So I just make all of the
people too.
I mean, why not? Right? You're making a video, put it on all the things. And so now I just make one and I put it on all the things. And I do like putting it on different ones because some things do better on one platform than the other. So you're not, you know how I think especially back at the beginning with Instagram only, you put out something, nobody likes it. And you're like, I just did all that work. But this time it's at least like, well, people on YouTube liked it better. Okay. It didn't hit as well on Instagram, but that's okay. So I think it's better for my mental well-being to be like, okay, TikTok hated this one, but Instagram really liked it, So I feel like it kind of lessens the stress by putting it on multiple platforms.
Yeah. And that's such a good point. That is such a good point because just because one audience didn't like it, put it on the other places. And the way you're saying it, it's pretty easy to you do have to make little tweaks, but if you just make a little tweak to a video that you spend an hour on, it's worth it to put it on all 4 platforms and see what happens and how it takes off. And obviously it's paid off for you because you have that following on all 4 platforms. And so you're speaking to me. I might have to do a one-on-one coaching with you because I get stressed out about that. I still do it, but I don't think I do it as efficiently as you. Delancey and I are on this group me where there's probably 150 to 200.
There's so many people in there.
There's a lot. It's I don't spend a ton of time over there, but I do pop in every now and then to see if anybody needs something or if I need something or Delancey and I just figured out we're going to be in an event together next week because of that group. So that's super fun. But you've been on there and talked a lot about, I think it's called Restream.
Repurpose.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that tool and how you use it in your content?
When I wanted to start building the Facebook, a lot of the videos, especially the early videos, I didn't save, right? You would either make them, I used to make them in TikTok, which don't make them in the app, make them in something else. You can use Splice or CapCut. Yeah, exactly. Use one of the InShot. Thank you. You can use one of those and then save it to your phone. and then go and upload it. People like to, all these social media experts like to pretend like it won't, like the metadata won't let it go viral
Yeah, I
on
don't
the
believe
platform.
that either.
It's all bull, because I have data to prove that's not true. I think a lot of people just make up stuff and just say it, and people believe them. And I'm like, that's not true at all. But so before I was saving all the videos to my phone, I didn't have the early videos. So I used repurpose.io to go into my TikTok, which had the most videos, and then take each video and save it to a Google Drive. And
Okay.
then you can also set up like a flow where you say, okay, repurpose, take this TikTok, send it to this Facebook. And you just go and you click one button and say, okay, do it on Monday at 9 a.m. And then like it's done.
Oh, wow. And does it remove the watermark for you?
Yep, no watermark. And
Wow. We're going to get this information for you and link it down in the
it's
description
literally
box.
amazing. It was like, I think it's maybe $20, $30 a month, which I made the whole year's worth in ad revenue on Facebook within 2 weeks.
Awesome.
So like
Wow.
Facebook immediately, because once you get enough, you know, can't remember what, I think you have to have maybe 5,000 followers on Facebook, but I had 300 videos. So
Yeah.
like rolling out
Let's just
3
put
a
'em over here
day.
and see if they stick.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
and if one made, you know, $50, like great, that's more than a month of this thing. And now it's like my backup in case, because these platforms could shut down any second, right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
they could, in an instant, any one of these could be gone, or they could all be gone. But this sends it to a Google Drive that I like have all of them. I'm like, if I had to start from scratch, I could start over again, because I know my videos are good. Like obviously the early ones are not as good. And I'm looking back and I'm like, oh, what was that hook? Why did I say it? Like, but you know, they all build and they got me to where I am now.
Wow, that's an amazing tool.
It
I
really
know.
is.
Well, I love that. I love the thing that you spoke on of like, beware of gurus and
Yeah.
like people, all they do is talk about Instagram and they're not actually making like Instagram content. They're just making content about
Content,
Instagram
yeah,
because
yeah.
like I've also heard, oh, if you have paid partnership on there, on YouTube or on Instagram, it won't get sent out. And I have multiple viral videos with millions of views that have
Yeah.
those tags on them. So I don't believe in that. So when people are like, oh, this is why this video is not going viral because I have this paid partnership tag on it. If content is good and
If it's
people
good,
are watching
yeah.
it, the platforms will push it to people. They are
Yeah.
not going to shadow ban you.
No, there is no shadow banning.
I
Like,
know.
and you know, and I think about all the time, especially like that first year or two that I was on Instagram, and like I paid for a course for $180, right? Like, and I was like, I'm gonna grow and I'm gonna learn, and like everybody was so worried about shadow banning, and everybody was so worried about like how many hashtags, and I still get people today who come up to me and they say, what time should I post? And I'm like, oh no, you could post at midnight, and if it's a good video, it will
Yeah.
be fine. And they're like, okay, but Tuesdays or Wednesdays? I'm like, no, like that's just not how I approach content, and it's not how I found to have any bearing. I mean, maybe on YouTube it's different because like that you want to be like actually consistent because your people show up, but like these more algorithm fed platforms where they just like send you what's trending, like I've found it, all the things that the gurus say, I don't believe any of them. I also don't believe all these people that are like, I just got off a phone call with Instagram and Instagram said this. And I'm like, those people don't know as much about Instagram as I do, because I spend hours and hours on Instagram a day. I am the expert. Those people who are like, yeah, threads are totally the way to grow. I'm like, you are lying to me. You are lying to my face. So I think I just, maybe I'm just too cynical. I don't believe anybody. I don't believe a single person.
Well, not to mention, if somebody says they actually talk to a person at Instagram.
I have talked to a person on Instagram, but my call was very similar to that. It popped up like in my Instagram. It says, would you like to schedule a call with Instagram? This was years ago when Reels
Yeah.
first started. And they basically were just like, keep making Reels.
And you're like, I knew that. Or I
was like, but how did it? And like asking all
Yeah.
these specific things, like all the things you want to know.
They don't
and they're
know.
just like,
They don't know.
They don't know. They're
No.
just, yeah.
No.
Experience is the best teacher.
A zillion percent. And I think that's what some YouTube guy was talking about, how like he doesn't give advice until the person's made 50 videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like you working on your videos is going to be the best teacher. Like I have advice I could give you, but you got to find what works for you first. So like yeah, if you're still hung up on if you're posting at 2:00 or 3:00, like it's not that's not what you got to focus on. You got to focus on churning out the content.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd love to talk about what you think makes a good video for you and
Mm,
what you've learned from your audience on making your videos.
gosh, that's such a hard question. I mean, I feel like you do have to have a good hook, right?
Okay.
Let's make over this bathroom for under $2,000, right? Like, okay, talk to me. People like real numbers, right? They
Mhm.
like when you're like, can you do a whole kitchen for $5,000? Oh, I don't know. Can you? Even though some people get mad, I could have done it for $900. And you're like, okay,
You're
do
like,
that.
I'll see your 900.
Well,
Want it.
honestly, my response was like, great, do that. Record it. People would love to see that.
Yeah.
People would love to see a whole bathroom for $900. Anyways, so like people do like real numbers. So if like, let's make this over in 2 weeks. Let's do this, like people like that, right? But I do think, and I don't know if it matters as much. Like a lot of people talk about the opening clip. Like, do you need to have movement in your opening clip? Do you need to be in your opening clip? Does it need to be an ugly before and after? Does it need to be a transition? I've gotten away from showing the reveal at the beginning. A lot
Okay.
of people still show the
A lot of
reveal
people are
like
doing that still,
right
yeah.
away. Now that I'm doing kind of longer ones, like minute long, which is long for short form, that you want to save it till the end, so hopefully they watch it. But like, I don't know. I don't have like a formula. I wish I had a formula. It would probably make my video editing go smoother if I had like okay, for the first 19 seconds you do this, and then for 5 seconds. I don't know. I do think some of the things that people no longer like is people no longer like a call to action at the end, especially for a short form.
Yeah.
Like follow me. Sometimes I'll say like follow me if you like DIYs. But if it's like nobody wants to be told like and share this with your favorite friends, like nobody wants to be told that.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of like, if I like it, I'll follow you by myself. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. So I think getting away from that for short form is more authentic, at least for what I've found.
Yeah. Do you find that brands still want a call to action in your sponsored content?
Maybe I just automatically add a call to action for a brand.
Okay.
Maybe for a brand, it feels more natural.
Okay. Let's talk about your transition into starting to work with brands. Cause I know you
Yes.
have I know you've worked with Home Depot.
It's amazing. I
You've got
love
some
working with
big
brands.
hitters, girl.
I
So tell us
love
about that
brands.
transition, when that started and how you got started and all that process.
So once 2 years ago, I had a viral video that blew up and I got like 500,000 Instagram followers in a week.
Holy smokes.
It was ridiculous. I could make a whole course on that, couldn't I? And just sell like, here's how I made 500,000 Instagram followers in 1 week. And if you pay me $200, make one video and then you'll go viral. And just ignore the 2 years of work that you put in before that.
Yeah.
But so once I did that, I got a manager, which is amazing. I have a wonderful Lately Collective. My manager is Lauren. She's amazing. And so she helps to she finds some deals, but then if people email me, I'll send them to her and she'll help negotiate them. Before I had a manager, and I still had a lot of Instagram people. Back at that time, I had 80, 90,000, still a lot, right? It was still a lot. And I had a couple, because people just email you. And the problem is, and even today, this, you get hundreds of emails a day being like, would you like this light bulb from Amazon? And you're like, no, I'm not. So you have to skim through all that. But before I blew up, I had a Toto one, right? To the bidets, which that's a big name brand for that was my biggest to date of this is a real brand. This is a real brand that wants me, and they are paying me 4 figures to do this. I was like, I have made it. I have officially made it in the content creating world. But then once I actually had way more, once I had over 500,000, then I started to get some bigger brands. I'm like, yes, finally, all this hard work that I've been doing has finally paid off. And then, so I think being picky of which brands I'm going to show is it's great to have that option, just because if my feed was inundated with all of these ads and all of these things, I do think it would dilute my brand a little bit. But obviously I need to make some money because I'm putting so many hours into this. So I like now that I can be pickier and get to work with which the Home Depot, right? Like that was my dream 5 years ago, which I couldn't even express it at that point. My dream at that point was like, I just like I want to get some free stuff. Like, wouldn't it be nice if like somebody gave me some tools and then or like, I need to paint this. Maybe they gave me the paint and then I could give them. But then it turned into like, oh, this could be a real business. This could be like a real business because you're providing like great marketing for these companies that they couldn't get anywhere else. They're getting like a targeted to the people who spend money at Home Depot. Like this is what they, like, so I think so the manager definitely helped. She's still like negotiates all of my deals. Managers usually take 15 or 20% of every single deal. But it's wildly worth it for me. Just because my brain can't do all that. I don't love the business aspects of this. I just want to like do projects and I'll film it, but I don't even want to like do all the negotiating and the emails and the back and forth and the like blah, blah, blah. Like that's so being able to outsource that was wildly helpful. But that's the only like helper I have in this business so far. It's still just me. So I eventually need to get like an assistant and I need to get like all these things, but eventually my brain just can't handle all of it yet.
Well, so as far as like your income breakdown, what percentage of your overall income comes from brand partnerships?
It's probably 80% brand partnerships.
Okay.
And then 10% like bonuses from the platforms, right? Like the YouTube creative program or like, all those kind of things. And then probably 10%, like I put out an ebook last year, stuff like that.
So it sounds like you're not doing a lot of like affiliate, click this link type of stuff.
Well, maybe affiliate isn't lumped in that last 10%.
Okay. And it's 10%.
I'm doing some affiliates, definitely not as much as I should be. I definitely don't want to saturate my people with like, why are there 5 links every single day in your stories? But I do think I need to be better about like, I like this, this thing, like you should like it too. Like, because I only share things I like. So, I should link more.
I'm in a transition where I've been looking for a manager for a while and I haven't met with anybody yet. And my latest feedback from a manager that I met with was like, okay, so are you a content girly or are you a link girly? Because it looks like you've been trying to link more. And I'm like, well, why can't I be both? But maybe I haven't been doing a good balance of linking and not linking. I think I'm coming off a season where I had a lot of brand partnerships. And they're brand partnerships that are very niche. And I'm just like, I just don't want to be in this box anymore. So I was just trying different things where I was like, let me come out of my box and share more of my everyday life. And like, the only way I can make money off of that right now is links. And to get these other brands that are out of my niche, I have to prove that people will buy the things that I love that I'm talking about. And I'm still kind of like I'm probably on like month 6 of that. And I don't really have that many links to show for it. So it's like, oh, well, was this a failed attempt? I don't know. But I do like, I hear that it's like, well, if you want to be a brand partnership person, you can't be doing links all the time. But then on the opposite side, it's like, you hear from brands, well, you need to prove that you can sell stuff before we want to work with you. So it's like this conundrum. But I like hearing from you because you're obviously someone who just creates good, engaging content. And you're like, if I get some affiliate sales on the side, great. But I know that my value and my worth is mostly contained into the great content that I can create and produce for brands. So it's a good thing for me to hear because I'm flailing a little bit.
Well, I mean, I'm with you right now. I mean, I'm trying to branch out because I do think diversifying your streams of income is a huge deal. Because if 3 of these platforms went down, brands like they would be like, oh no, never mind. Or if I lost access to my TikTok, like the brands that I have currently paying for TikTok would be like, oh, okay. So I do think diversifying income is a huge thing. And I was listening, to what y'all were talking about at the last podcast I was listening to about like, you need an email list, right? Like you need an email list that you own. And I'm like, I know I need an email list, but I just like, I don't know what I would send them.
Oh my gosh, that whole story that we shared about that guy on Instagram, his account is gone again.
Is
And
it?
I'm like, it is gone. And it has been
What
gone
is
for weeks.
happening?
And we're on his email list. So we
Yeah.
got the email being like,
Oh
pray
my
for your
gosh.
boy. My Instagram's gone again. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sad for him.
That is so.
Yeah. And when we put that
Oh my
out
God.
too, there were like 4 people that messaged me that were like, my Facebook got hacked through this podcast scam. And it just like,
I
broke
get
my heart.
so many of those podcast scams, and
I
they
just got
all.
one before we hopped on this call from Jasmine Starr, who I love. So I was
Right,
like,
you're like,
oh,
oh,
Jasmine
yeah.
Starr.
Mine's always like Travis Kelce. I'm like, Travis Kelce
Yeah,
does not
right.
care about me. What are
Like,
y'all talking about? Did you see the response? I can't remember if I shared it in that group me where I responded. I was like, yeah, right. Y'all can pay me $3,000. And their response was lol. The scammers responded lol. I was like, excuse me. The audacity these stupid scammers have.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Anyways,
They're
yeah.
ruthless. They're ruthless. Okay.
But that
so
goes back to like,
I'm going to bring it back because this is a good point. Like, where do you see, because you have such a huge following on these big accounts. And I think the most thing I'm hearing lately from brands is like, we want TikTok. We want TikTok.
oh,
Where
really?
are the majority of your brands wanting your content to be on? Or do you just put it all across? Like, what's coming through? What do they want from you?
Sometimes they'll want it like a blend. And I like when they like a blend. Well, actually, I like it both ways. I like when they, so sometimes they'll say, I want this on Instagram and TikTok. And you're like, okay, great. And so you get more money, right? Because you do that. But then, like my sister's bathroom, they just wanted TikTok. So I
Okay.
just put it on TikTok. So then when I was able to put it on Instagram, it like, I got to take out the little bits of being like saying the brand name and say like, cause I still did the work. Like,
Yeah.
and so then I think, then it doesn't count as like, oh, she's got another paid sponsorship. Like, oh, all she ever does is ads. So I like it both ways. But I found most brands currently want Instagram and TikTok. Occasionally they'll add, okay, sure, share it to YouTube Shorts for a little bit. I haven't had anybody want Facebook yet. I'm like, I've got 500,000 followers. Nobody cares.
Nobody wants
Nobody
Facebook.
cares.
Nobody wants
But
to go
Facebook does pay a little bit of ad money. So I feel like I mean, for the extra work of clicking repurpose or just clicking over, I'm still going to keep sharing stuff to Facebook. But I wonder because YouTube pays ad money, but I feel like lately I'm hearing a lot of creators, like longtime creators, talk about that YouTube is no longer paying as much, or like they just don't feel like they're getting as much from YouTube. Have you felt that?
I don't think that my YouTube earnings are down, but it's because my views are down. And because people are not watching long form content as much.
See, is that
anymore.
yeah? So do you think what is causing that drop in viewership?
I think, well, for particularly in my niche, it's oversaturation in my niche. Like when I started in because my niche is furniture flipping. I mean, it's DIY and stuff, and I do, home decor and stuff on there, but the stuff that performs the best is furniture flipping, and that's all I used to do.
Yeah.
And when I started, and when my channel took off in 2019, there was probably like 3 to 5 other people doing it consistently.
Yeah.
And now there's like so many people, and people have been watching me flip furniture for 4 years. It's like, there's a point, like we all love Friends, but it eventually ended. Okay. So, and even if I'm doing new styles and whatever, I'm still like basically taking an old piece of furniture and flipping it and making it, Chip and Joanna Gaines, they had a great run with their show, and they're doing other things now because like people just get bored. I mean, to be honest with you. And
you're right.
But my audience is still there. It's still growing. So I'm still spending time in there. And granted, I say my money's down, but I'm still making $3,000 to $4,000 a month on my content. It's worth it to me to stay there because I can't make that money on just my content on Instagram or TikTok, chasing all the bonuses and posting 70 million times a day. I just don't have time for that.
No.
And again, and like posting links every day, like it's not even coming close to that $3,000 or $4,000 that I'm earning by just being consistent. And it's like with you, I have videos that have over 1 million views. And so I just believe if I keep making videos, maybe I'll have one of those again. And if I don't, like, it's okay. Like, I still love being a YouTuber in that long format content and challenging myself and how do I make it different and how do I grow? Mm-hmm. And I have in my backlog videos that have 1 million to 3 million views that made $30,000. So I can't ignore that. Will it ever happen again? It might not, but my CPM, what I get per, 1,000 views is still the same as it was 20 years ago. I'm just getting less views. So I still believe in putting effort into it. And like you said, I can put my shorts up there. My shorts have like never taken off, but my daughter recently did her first flip.
Oh
And
yeah.
that went viral on all 4 platforms, and it's gone the most viral on shorts. And so that short has 3.5 million views. It's my most viewed
Wow.
short ever, and it's made $500. And I'm like, hey, this is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Because it was just
500 free
I was like,
dollars.
this is a story that I just want to share. It was not sponsored. I didn't care how it performed. I had to ask my daughter's permission. I
Sure.
made the package first because I was like, she's just immediately going to say no. I put the reel together. I was like, I think this is a really cute story and it's a beautiful project, and I would love to share it with people, because she made $95 on her first flip. I was
Yeah.
like, this is a great story. And she watched it and she's like, yeah, I'm okay. You can put it up. And I didn't put like her face that
Yeah.
much in it. It's side views, and like she didn't talk. I narrated it.
Right. Right.
So it was just like, and it took off on all 4. And I was like, this is amazing. How do I recapture this? But like, I really can't. But at the core of it, it was a good story. So I've learned something from that content going forward. It's like, wow, the storytelling is
Mm-hmm.
so much more powerful than the transitions for me.
I know, I 100, and I
You
love
know?
what you said about that, like, you didn't care how it performed.
Yeah.
And I do think that that makes a difference.
Mhm.
Because if you're like, you put up something and it doesn't work, you're like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and being able to be like, oh, this was fun, and putting it up, I think is freeing, and it allows you to continue to even do this, you know, like
Yeah.
to even be like, yeah, I'll keep going.
Yeah. Because I think the mistake that we made, like Maggie used to be my agent, but she's transitioned out of like doing that because it was not her favorite thing to do. The negotiating and the back and forth and all that. But the first year she came on and took that over for me, we got so many deals, and we did like way too many deals to where I feel
Mm-hmm.
like, not that we were inundating the audience with sponsorship content. We were doing a great job of putting stuff in between that wasn't sponsored, but the sponsored content was driving my calendar so much
Yeah.
that I lost like the in between. I was like, I don't even want to make a video because I'm
Yeah.
just like exhausted, worn out. The money that year was like great. And I don't think we alienated the audience. I never got negative feedback about it. But
Mm.
at the end of that year, like my bank account was really full, but my soul was
Mm.
crushed.
Yeah.
And I was exhausted, and I just didn't want to do anything anymore. So I love your lesson of like, you can be picky. Like,
Yeah.
be picky with what you're doing, negotiate for what you're worth, and don't just say yes to everything just because
Yeah.
it's like, well, I can make a quick $1,000 here. I can make a quick $500 here,
Right.
because it will like slowly suck your
Suck your soul.
soul
Yeah.
Exactly.
out of, and there's so much pressure on, this has to perform, this has to perform, this
Uh-huh.
has to perform. And then you're trying to control things that are really, really out of your control. So
Yeah.
I
I've
love
also
that
found
lesson for
that
everybody.
like the companies that want to nickel and dime you also want to nickel and dime how it performs. And it's like, well, you're supposed to get this many, and if it didn't get that many, can you do another one for free? And can you like, but these big companies give you the dollars, and they're like, great, thanks so much. Like,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's not worth the time to try to earn $300 here and there. It's just
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Well, and the trend I've seen is that a lot of companies are wanting to license the content and push it
Mhm.
out and boost it. Have you seen a lot of that come through on your deals, or are they strictly
I
just wanting access to your audience?
I get it occasionally.
Okay.
And they have to pay a lot
Yeah.
for me to even consider, like, yeah, letting them whitelist or boost or whatever they call it now, dark list, or, it has all these different names that they try to come up with. So, but I don't find that that's what most of them want. I find
Okay.
that most of them want me to make a video with me to come up with a concept, because they're like, whatever you did, do this again, like this right here. And sometimes they'll even send me a like, hey, we loved how this video was. Can you make something similar for that? I'm like, oh, that helps. Yes. Like, I can handle that. Because sometimes they'll be like, make a video. And I'm like, do you have any like direction you want this video to go in? And they're like, just whatever you want. I'm like, oh, I'd almost rather you be like, can you do this exact thing? And I'll be like, oh yeah, sure. I don't know. That's just my brain work. Sometimes if you give me too many parameters, I'm like, this is too open. I need a little bit of direction. Sometimes I go to my sister and I'll be like, okay, this is what I got to make a video about. Help me brainstorm this. Because again, my husband's like, I don't even know. And I'm like, okay, somebody help me think through this, because my brain needs to talk through this out loud.
Well, tell me, I want to know, because you're doing like these really huge involved projects that probably, I imagine, take quite a bit of time. How are you squeezing multiple pieces of content out of each of these projects so that you don't have this big lag in time where you put up a short and then wait until your next project, put up another one? How do you kind
Well,
of
I
look at
kind
the
of
project,
do. That's
hold
the
them this
problem. That's
ah,
the problem is that like
yeah,
after these huge projects, my mom's kitchen, my sister's bathroom, then I just like ghost people for a month. And so I'm trying to get better at that of like, you know, if you can film stuff slower, film it in real time instead of just filming a time lapse, film you talking to the, while you're doing the project. Cause I should be better about stretching out the content and making it more, but right now I just don't stress about if the channel goes dark for 2 weeks. And I've never been a person to be like, I'm in my stories every single day and I will say good morning to you and sing to you good morning every day. Like I've never been that kind of person. So people don't expect it of me. So when I go dark for 2 weeks, I might get one message that's like, you okay? Like maybe one, and usually
Wow.
not. But I
It
also
seems like
never,
you've kept some really healthy boundaries for yourself.
I don't know if it's healthy or not. But I also never come back and be like, did y'all miss me? Like I
Yeah.
just, cause like they could have been busy. Like, I'm just like, oh, this is what I'm working on today. So I don't know. I don't know if it's healthy boundaries or if it's like you do a lot of projects and then you do nothing for a month and then you do a lot of, like, I don't know if it's healthy or not, but
I like it that you have the awareness that like people may not notice if you're gone or not, and you
I
don't
don't
have to
think
make
they
a big deal
do.
about it. You
I
just
think,
like it's like friends like that you haven't seen in 2 weeks. Oh, I haven't seen you. Like it's good to see you. Like
yeah,
you don't have to tell people you're going on vacation,
no,
tell people you're taking
no.
time off, tell people, oh, I'm having a mental health day, so you won't see me on. I like that I think again, it just
Yeah.
speaks to that relatability that you have as a content
yeah,
creator.
and it also kind of, it's like your audience is engaged either way, and you're not stressing about showing up in your stories every day, or
Yeah.
people aren't going to show up and watch your content when you do put it out. Because I feel like that's
Right.
how a lot of creators operate. Like, oh, if I don't show up today, if I don't have something to put out, like everybody's going away. That, I
Yeah.
mean, even if that's not real, that I think that's
I
where
think
people operate out of a lot
I
of
think
time.
people who only do Instagram think you have to be in your stories every single day and you have to put
Mhm.
out a reel a week and you have to put out a post a week, but when I started seeing TikTok, no on TikTok nobody goes to their following feed.
Yeah.
Like you only do FYP. And
Mhm.
so like you don't even see stuff in real time anyways. So even if a person is putting out a video every day, you may not see it every day. Like the algorithm won't show it to you every day, or you may see a video from a week ago. So I think when I realized that and that the video still did fine, then that freed me up to be like, it's okay if you don't post on stories for 2 weeks on Instagram. Like who, nobody cares. Like really nobody cares. And then just, I post when I have stuff to post about,
I think this is going to give some people out there some real like freedom to not have that pressure to have to show up every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every whatever it may be, because I feel like that's what
Yeah.
people act like. It is very formulaic to be successful on these platforms. You have to do X, Y, and Z, or you won't be successful. But
I
you're
mean, you
showing
could,
us that's not true
and like maybe you
necessarily.
should, and maybe
Yeah.
I would have made more money if I did show up in stories every single day, and every single day I linked 5 items, and one of the items is like, I can't believe how much this was, click it and see what it is, like if I did more like clickbait kind of things, maybe I would be making $1 zillion, but I'm making very good money. And so like
Yeah.
do I need to figure out what this next season looks like? And I do think that's part of the thing is that like these platforms are always changing, right? Like they're always changing. Right now, everybody's so mad at TikTok because TikTok is messing with their creator fund, and all the CPMs are down so far. And all these people that had their livelihood just on
Yeah.
TikTok are like, oh crap, what am I going to do? So I do think being able to roll with the punches. Like, remember how many people hated Reels when they first came out? People were so mad. Is it okay that I can still post a picture? Like it was, people were so mad.
Mhm.
And I'm like, y'all, this platform is pushing this. Do it. It's not that hard. So I do think, because these platforms are going to leave. There's going to be another platform in a year or two. Like,
Yeah.
you got to hop on it. You got to put your stuff out there. will it be? We don't know. It's gonna be short form, long form, audio, like who knows? And just being adaptable and flexible. But I think some people get too in their brain with like, I have to do this. It has to be done only this way that this random coach said to do. Like,
Yeah.
I just think that's
And like the thing that
malarkey.
we keep hearing over and over again from the creators that we interview on here is like just showing up, like just being consistent and showing up and not having your worth or value attached to how the piece of content did. Like
Yeah.
put it up, learn from it, move on. Do another project, learn from it, put it up, move on. Listen to
Yeah.
feedback, like keep going. Like you and someone would look from you from the outside and maybe they didn't see you until 2022 when you blew
Mhm.
up, but you had been behind the scenes working for 3 years and nobody like I say nobody knew who you were.
Yeah.
But and it's just like I think we all have seasons where we're hidden and we see the people that like just take off right away, but those are just so few and far between.
Yeah.
You know, I started my YouTube channel in 2013.
Wow.
It is 2024.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like these are not overnight success things. And then
Yeah.
once you do hit it, like you said, if you're not willing to roll with the punches and try new things and fail, like you're not going to make it like in this crazy world of social media and creating content. Like you have to find your value and your worth in something else. And you have to have just enough like consistency. You have to show
Yeah.
up and you have to be consistent
Yeah.
even when like you don't want to or even when you feel like it's not working if you want it to turn into something.
Well,
And I
and
love how like
yeah.
we can all just be different. Like there can be link girlies that make their dollars on links. I know so many people that are so successful at that.
Right. Making
They're doing a
$500,000 on Amazon. And you're like,
yeah, they're doing a great job on that. And like you
Yeah.
make wonderful content that brands want to work with you because you produce great content and you're relatable and people want to follow. Like there's room for everybody. So it just doesn't have to look one way. So
well, and I think, oh, sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
we have so much information.
We just want to keep talking.
I was just going to say, though, too, the other thing that I notice about successful creators and people like you who are kind of in it for the long haul is they've figured out what's enough for them. And also, they don't approach creating content with this in mind. Oh, I'm going to do this project because it might go viral. I'm going to do this. You're just doing it because you love doing it for your family. You love the project. You love making your house beautiful. And without that mindset of I'm only going to put my hands to the work I think is going to make me money, if that makes sense. And so I think that is a common thread too we've noticed as we've interviewed all these creators is the ones who are so successful have figured out what their enough is. And it's their approach to creating content that it really comes out of a passion for something and not just I'm going to do this with the end goal of it going viral or making me money.
Because then if it doesn't, if the algorithm, you remember that day that Instagram was like nothing was working, nobody could comment, you couldn't even add a description. Like what if that had been your one day to like put that out and then it flunked and you'd be like, the past 3 weeks are worthless. Which I do think spreading out your content via multiple platforms helps because then you're not distraught when one of them malfunctions. But I think a lot of people who they think that because these algorithms are so, who knows who's going to blow up today, right? They think that if they suddenly get 100,000 followers, they will suddenly become successful. And I think we're realizing that that is not true.
Yeah.
You could have 100,000 followers and not a single brand wants to work with you. Like, which is so ridiculous to say, but it's so true because like, if like, who knows? Because everybody knows it's not all about followers, right? And a lot of times it's about what's your average view? Like how many average views do you get on projects? Because we're going to pay for your average views, that kind of thing. And so I think it's real easy to think if I could just blow up, if I could just go viral, but like you got to put in that work ahead of time in case you do go viral. And I think because I had put in so much work for these little brands that would send me like a quart of paint and I would make I painted my 3 kitchens ago. Like I did it and I showed them the video in exchange for that quart of paint for my kitchen cabinets. But I realized that with those very, very first starter mom and pop brands for just content exchange, I realized I will never be the prettiest like videos. I will never be the biggest house. I will never be the like guaranteed to go viral every single time, but I will be the easiest person to work with. I will
I
get
love
you your
that.
content when it is due, come hell or high water. I don't care if my kids are sick and throwing up. If I say that if you say you need the content on the 19th, you are getting it the 19th, no matter what. And like, I will respond to emails within 2 hours. Like, I will be the easiest person to work with. And so I think that helps me get like return people, because they know, all right, like maybe she, maybe her project is going to be a budget project. Maybe it's not going to be this like giant, huge transformation, but we're going to get a video when we need it, and she's going to be easy to work with. And like, those are things under my control. I can't control the algorithm. I can't control, how well a project does, but I can control how easily I respond to these other normal manager people, right? Like, the person on the other side of the email for this brand is just a regular person, and they're just trying to do their job, and they're just trying to report to their boss, like, okay, I've got 3 work influencers to do this, and so's being late, but DeLancey's getting her stuff in on time, like that's my big thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, excellence. That's another key theme that I think runs through all these creators that we've talked about. It's like, if you are not treating brands like that when you're getting very little, like, you're not going to treat them. When you get more money, you're not going to treat them better. Or you're not going to treat the project more seriously. It's like, when you go into the small beginnings with that excellence, with that honor,
Yeah,
you'll get bigger deals.
absolutely.
Because people will like working with you.
Yeah.
But if you like give them half an effort, it's like, well, we're not going to trust you with a $1,000 deal or a $500,000 deal because you did poorly with when we gave you $50. So
no, I've had brands that I started out with just content for, like trading content, right? Like, they give me X amount of whatever it was, and I give them videos that went for, like, I did a lot of those, and then suddenly it was like, oh, can you do this for 5 figures? And they're like, oh yeah, absolutely I can, because you've put in that work, which like, nobody sees that work, right? Like, all the like the year or 2 you spent building that, like, oh, and now, and because you're easy to work with too.
And that there can be a progression, because I think we used to be like, oh my gosh, you're worth more than free product. You are, but like, when you're starting out, that's where everybody starts out, is a free product for a video. So don't still be excited about that. But guess what? If that video performs well and you did a great job and you got everything turned on in time, when that brand comes back, that's when you say, okay, I can do that for you. And because of this thing and how many people I brought and how many clicks I got, I can do this next project for $500, for $1,000. Like, that's when you can then ask to step up. And then when you have some of those under your belt, where you have had brands pay you right away, when somebody comes and asks you and say, hey, do you do a product trade? Unfortunately, I don't do product trades anymore, but here's some examples of what I've done for other brands. And here's why I think what I'm worth. And here's my rate. Like, it's a progression. So
absolutely. But people, sometimes they kind of want to rush that progression part, right? Like, they want to be like, I suddenly have 100,000 followers, I should be getting, you're like, well, yeah, you probably should, but do you have the track record to back up that number? And if you do, like, sure, hold out for eventually. Will you get a big deal? Sure, probably, yeah. But like, it's okay for it to be a progression too.
Yeah. And the funny things about those big deals, they feel great when you say yes and you get to sign the contract, but then you actually got to make the contract.
Then you got to do it.
And you have to deliver. And that, like, I cannot explain to people what that pressure feels like. And
but my brain loves that pressure. My brain is like, okay, this is it. And then I have to like reverse back engineer how long it's going to take me to do something. I love external deadlines. So like, that's why
I do too. You're speaking my language, but there is,
it is a ton of pressure.
A little bit of fear under there that I'm like, I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. So I know it's not true, but it's something internally I have to fight. Like, after I just want everybody to know it's not roses and rainbows.
No, that's so true. Mine
on the dotted line, then you actually have to deliver like something that is worth.
Well, that's true. My hesitancy is never in the project, because I know the project's gonna be good. My hesitancy is always when you click post, whether or not the algorithm loves you that day. Like, that's always my like, oh, please do good, please.
Dude, I love your confidence though. I'm like, I know this project's gonna do good. We need some of that energy. To receive that for myself.
I just like, it's obviously amazing. I don't know what you're talking about.
I think like the last thing I wanted to talk about, we could talk about business all day with
I
you.
know, we
You
really
might be
could.
one of those people that I have to have you back on, but I'd love to talk about community because I know that
Mm,
you're connected with people that I've met in the industry and what a big part of like you feel like your success is community,
hmm.
as well as like your support from your family and your husband.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good one. Because when I went to Haven 2 years ago, that was my first time being like, okay, like I have a couple of friends, like I had a friend or two, like here in Atlanta that I knew did DIY content creation, that kind of thing. But Haven was the first time like going and meeting all these people in real life. And at that point, I was still a nobody, right? Like I had 80,000 followers and I was still a complete nobody because like if you weren't one of the original people that like started in 2018, you were like a nobody.
Yeah.
And so it was I mean, I'm such an introvert. Oh my goodness. And so like to go there and you're like, have to like talk to people and you're like, ugh. But like everybody I met was lovely. Everybody I met was like wonderful and lovely. And like very, especially like I went to your class on YouTube and like you were so like transparent with like, okay, this is what it's like. This is what, and that's what I wanted. I was like, okay, I love this. Like we can all succeed.
Hmm.
There's enough room for everybody. Like, even if you're new, it's okay. And you can succeed as well. And so when we were leaving Haven that year, I was sitting with two like local girls who were there with me. And one of them I'd just met, but I'd seen her on TikTok, but I just met her there. And then another girl hadn't even met before, and then a friend. And we were sitting there and we were like, okay, what are our goals for this year? Like, we've just come off this conference. What are we going to do? And my goal, I was like, I'm going to make $100,000 a year on content creation. At this point, I was making like $300. And so I was like,
Look at you.
next year, I'm going to make $100,000 and my husband's going to quit his job. Like that was like, cause he was making 100,000. I was like, I'm going to make 100,000 and he's going to quit his job that he hates. And, I was like naming it and claiming it. And then like a week later, my video went viral and I got 500,000 new followers. Like a week later, it was ridiculous. And then I got the manager and then I was on Good Morning America digital and like all this stuff. And like, I was like, oh gosh, it's happening. And then, so last year I wanted to make 100,000 last year and I made 200,000. And I was like, but like, so now I'm like, okay, what does this next season look like? And so but those same girls, I was like, and I had another girl there who she talked to me and she said, you are just a year behind me. She was like, I was where you were last year and I saw someone else who was a year ahead of me. She was like, next year you are going to be making six figures. And like, the like truth that she spoke, like it was crazy. But she was like, you are just a year behind. So just keep going. And in a year, and I was, and the next year I was like, oh my gosh, she was so right. Because like by Haven, I'd already made six figures and it was like halfway through the year. Like it was amazing. And so I see the like new people coming up and I want to be like, there is so room for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm a year ahead of you, but if you just don't give up, there is room. These brands have so much money. Do you know how much it costs to put on a commercial? Like where they have to pay someone for wardrobe and they have to pay the actors and they have to pay the director and they have to pay, like, not to mention do the freaking project, right? Like they have to, like, you are such a deal for these brands and they have so much money. We can all make money. Like everybody can make some money. And so like I've got some local Atlanta girls and like we get together. We went to my lake house and like just hung out and like we got together again in January to be like, all right, what's everybody's goals for this year? What are your goals? Say them out loud. This is a safe space. Say them out loud. And like people did. And it was like so powerful because these are other entrepreneur women who, some of them are stay-at-home moms. Some of them are still working a full-time job. Some of them are like, just quit their job and like in that in-between thing. And it's so stressful, especially as women. And to be able to sit there in another group of women where we're like, we can all succeed. Every single one of us in this room can be wildly successful, whatever that looks like to you. Because it's not always just money. Sometimes it's about freedom. Sometimes it's about like, I want to get the stuff to make my house look good. Sometimes it's about like, I want to like teach my children that so they can see that like women can do anything and you can make your house however you want. Like there's so many different ideas we have of what we want to succeed, whether that's monetary or not. And to be able to sit in that room and be like, in my living room and be like, all right, what do you want this year. I just think it's so powerful. And I wish I had been like, I wish that someone had found me and pulled me into that kind of group. So I'm trying to make that group myself, if that makes sense.
I love that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I do love that.
Well, and I just love the accountability of like saying it out loud and then being able, when you're having those hard days, for people to be able to speak in that. Or like if you see someone chasing like a carrot that maybe is not meant for them, like to correct. And I have a group like that of 6 other women that we're just in that daily. And it's like, listen, maybe this is not your lane. Let's go
Yeah.
to a different lane. You seem stressed out and you don't have joy about this. So maybe let's go over here. Like take a breath. Like I had my friend she's a YouTuber as well. Katie Scott, who we've had on the pod
Oh,
before.
yeah.
And I was just talking to her this week and I was like, this and da, 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 da. And she goes, Christina, like, I think you just need to press record and
Wow.
you just need to make content and stop like over analyzing and overthinking and trying to plan everything out. She's like, you're in a season of transition, but like, you just need to record and put
Wow.
content out. And she said that to me on Friday. And I was like, okay, I received this. Thank you. And I put a video out the next day. And that video did better than any of my long format, my last
Wow.
10 videos by like 4 or 5 times. And I just haven't had a video like that in a while that resonated with people. And honestly was the freedom of her just being like, you are putting like way too much expectation on everything. Like you need to get back to your first love and remember why you're doing it. And she's like, and she's speaking advice to me that we speak on Cypress Room
Right.
all the time. She's like, when I heard this, just like hit record, like,
Yeah.
but you can get so caught up in like what everybody else is doing. And it's like to have those people that really do have your best interest at heart and say, you are okay. Like you can do this and just love on you and walk through that process with you. It's super powerful. And I think the more we talk about that and the more we bring other people into it, the better off like the health of everybody in this space is going to be, because
Yeah.
it can be very isolating and
Yeah.
your mind will play tricks on you in isolation and tell you that you're not good enough and that you need to do this and this and this, and you will just be spinning and it will not be fun. So what's the point?
Yeah.
So I love that not only have you found that for yourself, but that you're bringing other people in. And I think the more we preach that there's room for everybody, like I know this space is getting saturated, but you're right. Like these brands used to have to produce $1 million commercials and they're not really doing that as much anymore. So there really is enough to go around.
And
Yeah.
everybody has such different strengths
Mhm.
that whether that's even like focus on which platform, right? Like, or like you were saying, more affiliates, less affiliates, more brands, less brands. Like there's so many different ways to succeed. And actually sometimes like when you're talking, sometimes you'll hear somebody say and you'll be like, oh no, I don't want to do that. Like I can tell you for sure. I keep trying to do LTK. I keep trying and it's just not my it's just hard for me. I don't know why. I'm sure if I got better at it, it would come easier. It's just so hard for me. But some people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of that.
Yeah.
But part of me just wants to be like, okay, you get to make that. Like, like I can't do it all, first of all, just me. But also like maybe that's just your strength. That is just your strength to be able to show how awesome these products are and why people could or could not use them in their life. Maybe that's just your strength. And that's okay. We can all have different strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that. You're saying all the things we've been talking about on this podcast for
I
quite
know.
a while.
So it's fun when somebody comes from the outside and it's just like, yes, okay, we're not crazy. Yeah, this is what we think too.
Y'all are definitely not crazy.
Our last thing that I think we want to talk about, I'm going to let you talk about it because we have it on our notes. So I was like, we cannot forget to tell DeLancey this story because I don't think you know how much a big part of like you have in the fact that we are still hitting record today on this podcast. I'm going to let Maggie talk about it.
Okay.
I know. Okay. So when we put you on our list of people to interview for this podcast from the very beginning, because when I was at Haven last year, you actually recognized me from this podcast. And I have to say, this was in our first month of doing it. And you encouraged me in that moment and said how much you love the podcast. And it was a big deal because not only were we just starting out and wondering, what are we doing? What is this for? Is anybody going to watch?
And we thought only 10 people had watched, and we thought they were all our very close friends.
But at the same time, that was my third time at Haven. And
Okay.
I always like just under the radar, because at the time I was more a support to Christina and coming in that, and I was not a creator. So I was always kind of behind the scenes, and everybody recognizes her, but you recognize me. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, it made me feel so good. And it was such an encouragement. And so, yeah, we've been looking forward to having you on this podcast, because it felt like you were an encourager and a cheerleader from our very beginnings. And so we just wanted to thank you for that, because it really did mean a lot. We really thought only our husbands and families were watching at that point.
But that's part of it, right? Is doing it for so long before people see it. And that is not fun. It's not fun. But that doesn't mean it's not still powerful, and it's not still worth it, and it's not still like a blessing to this community. Because I think there are there's so many podcasts, right? And so many people, social media, like ideas, and they're like, here's 3 ways to blah, blah, blah. But so few people are like, you want to know what I made on YouTube last month? Like, that's so different, and the world needs more of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
we appreciate that. And I want this to be a lesson to everybody. I think we've talked about this too. When you feel like you're supposed to encourage someone and you're like, oh, that's weird, I'm not going to say that, or why am I thinking that? Please just get it out, because you have no idea what is on the other side of your obedience, because that, I'm not going to cry, that was like something we needed in that moment. And it's something that we go back to like often, because, we still don't know what we're doing here. We don't know why we're doing it. And in full transparency, like, it's not making any money. And everybody's like, well, it shouldn't be about the money. It's not about the money.
Right.
But like, we are spending a lot of time doing this, and not, we could be making money in other areas if we were using our time and efforts, but we feel called to do this. And we feel like we're answering and being obedient to what God has asked us to do and what he's given us. And so your encouragement is something that we go back to again and again as like a guidepost of like, no, we do it. We did hear right. We are supposed to be doing this. And just like the value that you brought today, I just know is going to encourage so many people that are in that season of like, I'm unseen. It's not working. I got to do this, and this. And it honestly just sounds like you don't have to do this and this and this. You just need to show up just as you are, and you can be successful, and you can have a career at this, and like, you can do your thing and do your lane, and not have to worry about how everybody else is making money, but you can find the thing that works for you. So I know this is going to be just like a huge encouragement, this episode, to everybody.
I'm so grateful for you. Oh,
it's our touchy-feely.
I know.
So great.
There's always going to be some of that in our podcast.
All right. Well, now we're going to go into our segment with our favorite things.
Oh, I love it.
And we're going to let DeLancey go first, since she's our guest. Can you share something that you have just been loving lately?
I have been loving this blazer from Walmart, because it's like stretchy. And like, so you look put together, and it was like, I don't know, $30. And it's like, look, and it's like, see how it like stays pulled up? You don't have to like scroosh it up. It just stays pulled up. So that's my.
It looks so good on you.
It does look so good.
I kind of want to go buy all the colors.
How many colors do they have?
Oh, they have a lot. They have like a pink one and a white one. But I realized when
they have a white one, Maggie. Maggie needs a white blazer.
There you go.
I need it to be stretchy.
Yes, so you can like move.
When you can't move your shoulders.
When you can't like raise your arms when you're like.
This one's so cute. I'll send you the link so you can put it in the description too, because it's real cute. It's worth it.
Are you ready? You want me to go?
No, I can go, because I'm wearing my favorite thing right
I love it.
We have merch.
I love it.
I've got a hat,
sweatshirt, and it really is one of my favorite things. These are Champion sweatshirts.
Yeah,
I have been living in it because it's so comfortable, and I got mine a size up so it can be nice and roomy.
Did you get a large?
I did get a large.
I got a large too, and I've been enjoying it.
And I really like the oversized fit, and I was very impressed with the quality.
I am too. We created a spread shop, and it's actually attached to every single YouTube video. So you can actually look in this YouTube video and everything will be linked down there and it'll take you. And there's like sales and stuff that they run. So we'll try to keep you guys up to date on if there's sales that they give us. And so the best place to see that is probably on Instagram. So follow us on Instagram, but check it out.
Yes.
We love our logo that
It's
was
super
designed by My Sick Builds. And like, this is one of my favorites is like our submark that we have. So we put our submark on some hats and some coffee mugs and things like that. So if you guys want to support the Cypress Room, since we are actually we made $20 this month on YouTube. We are monetized on YouTube.
Yes.
That's a huge deal.
It's a huge deal.
It takes forever to get monetized on YouTube.
It does. We are monetized. So that is a huge thing that we need to celebrate as well. But if you are so inclined, if you have enjoyed the Cypress Room and want to support us, like one of the easiest ways to support us is through our merch shop that is now open. So go check it out.
Yes, go check it out.
Okay, mine is way more functional, and I can't believe it took me this long to get this, but I'm a pop socket girl. But when you have a pop socket on your case, you cannot use those magnetic chargers or put it in the
I have a magnet.
Yeah, so I just realized that you can get a case with a removable magnet pop socket.
I love
so
that.
these are two different products. This is a MagSafe case, so then I can attach it to anything that has a magnet. But my pop socket, and it's a high quality, it's pop socket, but it has the magnet on it. So, and it's strong, you guys. And like my kids, like it is just the best thing. And because like when you don't want a pop socket and you just want to hold your phone, like it's lighter and streamlined and everything. And it's like I have just been showing everything.
That's amazing.
I'm like, guess what? I got a magnetic pop socket. Look how cool it is.
No, that's amazing because I have my tripod also has a magnet, right? Because that's so much faster. That's a huge game changer. Put a magnet on your tripod. And so this one's magnet. Now we're just showing our phones. And mine has the thing where you can put cards in it because I don't ever take a purse. That's my trick. I always put my cards in here. But I like the idea of putting it because I could put a pop socket on this too.
Yeah. See, and this has been life-changing to me because my kids always steal my charger and I don't realize it until like midnight when I'm done scrolling TikTok. And then I have to like get up out of bed and search the house for my charger. But now I can actually use the one that's always by my bedside because I can take this off. So
that's genius.
I'm obsessed.
You need a docking drawer. That's what you need beside your bed.
I do. I've been watching your docking drawers.
They're really amazing.
But I need you to come install it because you're like, oh, it's so easy. Like the wires. I'm like, oh, wires, and creating a new outlet box. I don't know. But if I watch your video enough, maybe I'll get enough.
Totally. I have a long form video to tell you how to add a new outlet.
Okay.
So
all right. I'm going to do it. Those things look amazing.
They really do.
Yeah. I want to put those in for sure.
Right. Well, thank you so much, DeLancey,
for
fun,
coming. Y'all. Thank y'all so much.
And for you guys watching, we're going to put all the places you can find DeLancey below in the description box, as well as links to our favorite things so that you can find them there. And also go follow us on Instagram if you aren't already. Thanks for watching till the end. We'll see you next time in the Cypress Room.
We'll be back. Thanks, guys.